Hello everybody. Today we're going to learn how to do one-point perspective drawing. Things that you need to get started are paper, any kind of paper will do, a ruler or a straight edge. If you don't have a ruler, any kind of stiff paper that you can fold and have a nice straight edge works. You don't need to measure anything, it's just a straight edge that you need, and a pencil. I'm going to do my drawing today in erasable pen because I want to make sure you guys can see the lines that I'm drawing. When you're doing a perspective drawing, you always have to start with a horizon line. So I'm going to place my ruler roughly in the middle of the page, straight across horizontally, and then I'm going to use that ruler and create this horizon line. Then I'm going to label it HL, which stands for horizon line. And when you're doing one-point perspective drawing, there is one vanishing point. So I'm going to put that vanishing point right on my horizon line, and I'm going to label that vanishing point. Now the vanishing point is always on the horizon line, nowhere else. So I have my horizon line labeled, my vanishing point labeled. And I'm going to start with drawing a cube or a box. To do that, I need to start by drawing a square. So up here above, I'm going to use my ruler to draw a square. Now, if it's not a perfect square, it's fine. Mine's actually going to probably be rectangular. And I used erasable pen, so if I make a little mistake, I can erase it. You can erase with your pencil. The next step after I've drawn the box is that each of the four corners of my horizon line, or of my box, need to relate to my vanishing point. If you want to stop the video at this point, catch up, and then come back to the video after you're ready, you can do that. So now each of these four corners has to connect to this vanishing point. I'm going to put that ruler on each of those dots, the corner of my rectangle, and my vanishing point. And I'm going to continue all the way around. Each corner of my object goes to my vanishing point. Even this one back here for now, and if your lines overlap, it's okay. I'm actually going to do this very lightly if I can. This, technically, that back one you wouldn't even see, I just drew it in there. So if you want to pause the video and come back, you can do that. Now, to make this look more realistic, like an actual box, I'm going to draw two lines that are parallel. So you have this line here and this line here. You want to draw a line that's parallel to each of those in between these lines. These lines, by the way, are called your orthogonal lines. So I'm going to use my ruler again. Always use your ruler. And I'm going to line my ruler up so it's parallel to this line over here. Try to get as parallel as you can. And then I have that. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to turn the ruler the other way. And I'm going to try to draw a line parallel to this one. And it does that. Now, if you were to do this in real life, you would erase your orthogonal lines. I'm going to erase this line back here because you wouldn't see it. I don't want you for this practice page to erase your orthogonal lines entirely, but instead I want you to just kind of erase them a little bit so they become a dashed or a dotted line. And then you can see now I've drawn a box and I've drawn this above the horizon line. I would do the same thing if I wanted to draw a box below the horizon line. So I'm just going to move this over here and I'm going to go through the same process. The last one, which looks a little weird, is if you draw your box directly on the horizon line. So I'm going to go over here, do the same thing, draw my square or my rectangle, and then do the same thing. Connect the corner to my vanishing point, and the other corner to my vanishing point. Now I don't need to connect these two because if you think about it, you would never see those. I'm going to erase that line, and then I'm going to, you can make this box any size you want. This will be a big box, but this line is parallel to this line, the same way here. These two are parallel, these two are parallel. I'm also going to erase this line because we'll imagine that this is actually a box. And then I'll make my orthogonal lines dashed, just so that they're a little bit lighter. And this is if you draw your box on the horizon line. So that, in a nutshell, 1 point perspective on the horizon line, above the horizon line, and below the horizon line. I drew my horizon line and my one vanishing point, and I drew 3 other kind of crazy shapes. So anywhere where you have these points, you're going to connect them to your vanishing point. The points on your shape get connected to the vanishing point. And you can draw them all if you want, or you can just think about would I see this line or would I see this line? And then now I'm going to draw my parallel lines to those 2 edges. So there, and then remember this has to connect here and also be parallel. So there. And then again, I can either erase my orthogonal lines or I can dash them. Now, when you have a shape like a heart, it's a little bit of a different shape. You're going to think about all the points and where they would connect. And my heart is in a little bit of a goofy shape, or excuse me, goofy space. So it doesn't quite do what I'm, you don't see the edge like I would hope you would see. So I'm going to do the same thing. Think about the farthest point out. The way I like to do this sometimes is put my ruler on my vanishing point and then kind of turn and slide that ruler until I can only see one little bit of what I'm drawing. And then I connect it. And I'll do the same thing because if you think about it, this curve, this high point, would also go up there. So I'm going to do the same thing like that. And this is where the heart is a little bit weird. Sometimes you'd even see this line and sometimes you wouldn't. So I might have, now my parallel line is here and my other parallel line might be there like that. And then if I erase these, I'm going to actually really erase these. You can kind of see how that looks. And think about anywhere you put the heart, this kind of edge thing might change. Now the E has lots of different points to connect. So I'm going to connect each of those edges, those corners, to my vanishing point. All right, now I've connected them all. Notice I didn't connect every single point because I wouldn't see those points. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put this parallel to this line. Then I'm going to put my ruler parallel to this line. And then the same thing has to happen here. I can make these parts cut off. And I'm just eyeballing and seeing how they look, because this would also have some depth to it. And just so you can see how this looks, I'm also going to go in here and erase some of these lines that I don't need. And then you can see now I have that letter E in perspective. And then again, you would erase those orthogonal lines. So these are just some of the unusual shapes you could possibly draw